So John McAteer, it's been a long but I have to say a pretty uneventful day at election count 2011 here in Donegal North East. How did you find it yourself?
Very, very uneventful. In all my 35 years or whatever covering elections, I've never seen such a dull, uneventful, almost an anticlimax from the first hour this morning.
So what do you think happened? Is it because we predicted who would take the 3 seats, or is it because we're in the Aura Centre and maybe it doesn't lend itself to the atmosphere of a tight election? What do you think happened?
Well, I think the centre is one of the big issues, the sheer vastness of it. The fact that this place can seat 2,200 for a concert, and the fact that there are probably less than 200 people inside the building, many of them county officials. It has added to the sense of remoteness, and everybody feels totally detached from everybody else. Even party officials, that like to converse with other tables also seem strangely detached from each other. Also, the predictability of it, Joanne, has added to the lack of interest. And even there now with the distribution at this hour of the morning after 1 Sunday morning, we know the result is going to be a very decisive victory for Charlie McConalogue, much more decisive probably than we had anticipated.
So let's talk about Jimmy Hart, because I don't think that very many people spoke about Jimmy Hart today because he wasn't, and he was in the race for the 3rd seat. But do you think that the whole debacle about the health issue and the potential downgrading of Letterkenny General Hospital and the upgrading of Sligo General Hospital, that being in Susan O'Keefe's campaign down on Sligo Leitrim, do you think that affected him?
I think it affected him very seriously. It may well have cost him the election. And here, was an accident almost waiting to happen within the Labour Party. As you say, you had Susan O'Keefe batting for Sligo on the same issue as Jimmy Hart was batting for up here. And they were at extreme ends, almost polarised in their thinking. And the public read that as so totally confusing, and they reacted very negatively to it. And there was no need for it to have happened at all. And other candidates and other people like Betty Holmes got drawn into it. Didn't help her cause either, because there wasn't really an issue at Letterkenny General Hospital. The health agenda, whilst it has had severe cuts in recent years, was not high on the agenda, because people are still quite satisfied that despite the cuts, that Letterkenny Hospital had been able to continue delivering a satisfactory service, and particularly the oncology services, which are very vital and very important to women, and which have been hard won and hard fought over, to almost draw that into the campaign as a red herring, as a political football. People did react very, very negative and very quickly to that.
So it was a day for Sinn Féin right across the county. But focusing in on Donegal North East, we had Padraig McLaughlin topping the poll for Sinn Féin, first time as a TD in the 31st Dáil. How do you think that this will work out for the Inishowen constituency? Because we're looking like Inishowen's going to have 2 TDs and Dáil Éireann, Letterkenny without a TD, and Joe representing Mulford and I suppose Letterkenny electoral area.
Yeah, I can see the point that you're making there, and it's a very valid one. But Sinn Féin and Padraig McLaughlin would be pretty well known across Letterkenny, Inishowen and Milford. Padraig McLaughlin, actually out in the Farran Peninsula, which was the only one that came into my house looking for a vote of all the 11 candidates. And he knew where everybody lived. So Padraig McLaughlin's coverage of the constituency is much more widespread than any other candidate. They'll handle that very, very well. How Charlie McConalogue and Fianna Fáil is going to handle it is a different ball game.
But isn't it remarkable that we haven't mentioned Fianna Fáil in the last number of minutes that we've been speaking? I was just commenting on Twitter that the absence of the Fianna Fáil hashtag on Twitter is glaringly obvious. It's quite amazing.
We're only mentioning them just out of sympathy at the moment, Joanne, because the reality is, if there is such a thing as a political wipeout, that is it here today. And Charlie McConalogue has taken this seat, probably deservedly so. He's the last man standing. He's going to have a comfortable margin of victory. But I think, the handling of the election by the Labour Party literally gifted him the seat. I mean, when you consider that the Fianna Fáil vote has dropped by 33% and he still can take it comfortably, shows a measure of the huge coverage that Fianna Fáil had across Donegal North East. Charlie McConalogue is based up outside Carndonagh. He's going to be dealing with an organisation that is decimated and broken with major issues. It's going to take years to rebuild it. He's going to face a very uphill struggle. And traditionally, you see, that the thing was that Fianna Fáil would rely on its own Inishowen candidate, and either one in Letterkenny or out in Milford in Rosnakill or wherever. So they're going to find it very, very hard to cope with that. And the manpower and the help that's needed to rebuild it is going to take a long time to find new talent.
Okay, well, John McAteer, always great to talk to you, especially at an election time, and we look forward to speaking to you again. But for now, have a nice evening and safe home.
Thank you, Joanne.